Hi, my name is Christian Crank, and I'm going to be doing another demo for you today. We're going to be calling this DEFT Jam, Forensics with Autopsy. The purpose of this demo is we will be walking through a basic forensics challenge setup. Our environment will be the DEFT Linux distribution, which has an emphasis on computer incident response and forensics. We'll be exploring the use of several tools such as Autopsy, Bless, Strings, and DD to extrapolate a forensics information from images from 2 floppy drives. Now, we're going to open up a terminal first because we're going to need 2 images. So let's grab those. Elevate yourself to root by using sudo su, which is superuser do superuser, and into your root password. You are now running as a superuser. So let's grab the images and put them into our evidence folder. So first we need to switch that folder with a cd opt evidence. And now we can grab the image from the IronGuard web server by running the command wget http www.igstraining.net image.zip. Now you can decompress that by doing unzip image.zip, and we need to grab and decompress the second image file from the IronGuard web server by running the commands wget http www.igstraining.net scan26.zip, and then unzip scan26.zip, and now they're both unzipped. Now we're going to need a hex editor for this demo, so let's install the Bless hex editor. So in your root terminal, run an apt get install Bless. It's going to ask you yes or no, hit a Y, and that would be yes. So while that's installing, come down here to your menu, and we're going to start a new case by going to DEFT, Analysis Tools, and using the Autopsy Forensics browser. So we're going to set up our forensics browser and install our first image. So open it up, enter your root password. That should get it running. If it doesn't auto open for you, you can click on this link right here, or you can manually open it in a browser. It usually opens up for you. So now that this is open, you want to select New Case down here and make the case name Case 1 or whatever you want. Description's optional, and then put your name as an investigator name. And then you're going to click New Case. Okay, so you're going to add a host now. You can literally keep this all the same. You can add a description if not, but add host. Now you're going to add an image, add image file. You're going to put the location as opt evidence image, and that's going to be a disk, and you're going to copy it, and then you're going to click next, and it's going to be a volume image DOS. Click OK. You're going to calculate a hash, C, verify hash after importing, and you're going to click Add. Now, this is your MD5 right there. That's the starting MD5. You can either put that in a notepad like I'm about to do, or you can just write it down, whatever you want. This is to verify that once you're done with it, you can continue. But so once you have that copied, you can click OK to continue, and now from there you can click Analyze, and this is going to bring up everything you need: file analysis, keyword search, file type, image details, metadata, data unit, help, close, etc. So let's get the case background first. So I'm going to read this out to you before we get to the image. So the scenario is Joe Jacobs, 28, was arrested yesterday on charges of selling illegal drugs to high school students. A local police officer posed as a high school student was approached by Jacobs in the parking lot of Smith Hill High School. Jacobs asked the undercover cop if he would like to buy some marijuana. Before the undercover cop could answer, Jacobs pulled some out of his pocket and showed it to the officer. Jacobs said to the officer, "Look at this stuff. Colombians couldn't grow it better. My supplier not only sells it directly to me, he grows it himself." Jacobs has been seen on numerous occasions hanging out at various high school locations and their parking lots around 2:30 p.m., the time school usually ends for the day. School officials from multiple high schools have called the police regarding Jacobs' presence at their school and noted an increase in drug use among students since his arrival. The police need your help. They want to try and determine if Joe Jacobs has been selling drugs to students at other high schools besides Smith Hill. The problem is, no students will come forward and help the police. Based on Joe's comment regarding the Colombians, the police are interested in finding Joe Jacobs' supplier or producer of marijuana. Jacobs has denied selling drugs at any other schools besides Smith Hill and refuses to provide the police with the name of his drug supplier or producer. Jacobs also refused to validate the statement that he made to the undercover officer right before his arrest. Upon issuing a search warrant and searching the suspect's house, the police were able to obtain a small amount of marijuana. The police also seized a single floppy disk, but no computer and/or other media was present in the house. The police have imaged the suspect's floppy disk and have provided you with a copy. They would like you to examine the floppy disk and provide answers to the following questions. The police would like you to pay special attention to any information that might prove that Joe Jacobs was in fact selling drugs at other high schools besides Smith Hill. They would also like you to try and determine, if possible, who Joe Jacobs' supplier is. Jacobs posted bail set at $10,000. Afraid he may skip town, the police would like to get him locked up as soon as possible. To do so, the police have asked that you have the results fully completed and submitted by October 25th, 2002. Please provide the police with a strong case consisting of your specific findings related to the questions, where the findings are located on the disk, process and technique used, and any actions that the suspect may have taken to intentionally delete, hide, and/or alter data on the floppy disk. Good luck. So, the questions for the case. Number 1, who is Joe Jacobs' supplier of marijuana, and what is the address listed for the supplier? Number 2, what crucial data is available within coverpage.jpg file, and why is this data crucial? Number 3, what, if any, other high schools besides Smith Hill does Joe Jacobs frequent? Number 4, for each file, what processes were taken by the suspect to mask them from others? Number 5, what processes did you, the investigator, use to successfully examine the entire contents of each file? Number 6, what Microsoft program was used to create the cover page file? What is your proof? Proof is the key to getting this question right, not just making a guess. So, question number 1, who is Joe Jacobs' supplier of marijuana, and what is the address listed for the supplier? From the main screen, right here, you can click File Analysis and check out what files you can see. You may have to adjust the window or use the slider so you can actually see. But the file that we are most interested in is the jimmyjungle.doc file. So you can click that and you can export it to your desktop. So File, Save As, boom. You can open it with LibreOffice by right-clicking it. And once it's open, we have a letter, and it's sent to a Jimmy Jungle at 626 Jungle Ave, Apartment 2, Jungle, New York, 11111. It says, Jimmy, dude, your pot must be the best, made the cover, blah, blah, blah. So, obviously, this is a letter to Joe Jacobs' supplier. So, we have the name of his supplier, we have his address. So, that would be question number 1 done. So, you have the name and address of the supplier. Now, question 2. What crucial data is available within the coverpage.jpg file, and why is this data crucial? So, let's click on coverpage.jpg, and we're going to click on hex report. It's going to open up a new file. So, we're going to take note of the size of this file, and that's pretty much That's pretty much all we're going to get out of it. So we're going to take size 15,585. So we can close this out, go back to the main screen. Now we're going to go over to image details, So image details has file system information, metadata information, and content information, the actual contents and sectors. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sectors 73 to 103, and we're going to click that. Initially it looks like a bunch of junks, but if you scroll through it and see anything that stands out, it's good. So most of it's junk, but the slider over here will show you something in slack space right here. It says PW equals good times. So I'm going to copy that, put it into the notepad. Now this is a password, I would assume, but let's go back and see what else we can do. A lot of people would hide passwords like this is considered steganography, but there's also another way we could have found this information, this password. So we're going to hit display under hex right here, and if you scroll down, it's going to be right there. A lot of people find this a lot easier to use because instead of having to mess with the slider going right and up and down, depending on your screen resolution, this is all in one column. It's just easier to scroll down and look through. So like I said, the password is hidden in the slack space of the file. So we got that information out of the goodtimes.jpg picture. So we're moving on to question 3. What, if any, other high schools did Joe Jacobs frequent other than Smith Hill? For this next question, let's go back to File Analysis and click on ScheduledVisits.exe. Something that stands out almost immediately is the ScheduledVisits.xls file type. There is an Excel spreadsheet in there, so I'm guessing this isn't an executable. To find out whether this is or not, we need to look at the file signature. Under ASCII strings, hit report. It says we are in sectors 104, 105, as well as the file type. And it says file type empty, zip archive data, at least version 2.0 to extract. So let's close this tab and go back to the file analysis screen. We're going to go over to image details, and we're going to go to 104 to 108 into file area. So now we're going to display in hex. So our file starts out at 104 to 108. Or our file starts out at 104, and we're currently viewing sectors 104 to 108. So we don't really need to hunt around in the hex. What we need to pay attention to is the first 4 bytes. Zip files have a signature of 504B0304 or pk ... This appears to be a zip file. So return to the File Analysis tab. Click on Scheduled Visits, and we're going to export it. We're going to save it. And from there, we're going to minimize this, open this up. And now we're going to change directories to the download folder. So let's go to CD, home, your username, downloads. So we have volume 1, C, scheduled visits. So let's move it to volume 1, C, scheduled visits.exe to volume 1, C, scheduled visits.zip. And now let's try to unzip it. It errors out. So let's open up the disk image in the bless hex image editor. So we're going to cd into opt evidence, and we're going to go bless image. So this is going to start opening up the bless hex editor, and you can scroll through the file and look at its contents. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of scrolling, but here is the document that we were looking at, and it looked like the start of the document is at offset 4200. So I apologize. So we see DOCF. The first 2 bytes are DOC, which also suggests that it's a Docker file. Now let's look for the end of this file. If you scroll down farther, you will see a JFIF right here. This looks like the beginning of another file. So this lets us know that the Jimmy Jungle doc file starts at the offset of 4200 in hex and ends somewhere near 9200 in hex. The JFIF at 0xFFD8 in hex at offset 9200 in hex is called startup image in JPEG format. So safe bet that if you save all the bytes from offset 4200 to 91FF and give the file name Jimmy Jungle Doc, you will be able to open it. So let's try this. The top window, the top menu, select edit, and click select range. So we're going to do it from X4200 to 91FF. Select. So from there you can copy this. We're going to set up a new, and then we're going to paste it. And then from there you can save as, go to your downloads folder and save it as extracted.doc. Now you should be able to go to your downloads folder and double click extracted.doc, and it should be the exact same note as we got when we used the Autopsy browser to actually pull it out through hex like we did. So now that we know that we can do that, we should look at this, and we should look for the end of the second file. So we have our JFIF right here. So let's scroll down. Like I said, these are big files, so sometimes it takes a long time. We have our scheduled physics dice, but right here is the thing you're looking for, PK 504B. The PK indicates to us that this is a PK zip file. This is just like what we observed earlier when we examined the image in Autopsy. Just like before, we'll save everything from offset 0x9200 to 0x CFFF. Select, edit, copy, file, new, edit, paste, file, save as, and we're gonna call this cover page.jpg. And that was because when we examined the JPEG, remember how we found that good times in Slack, and also that a JFIF is the startup file for a JPEG image. So now let's go back to the downloads folder, and if you open up the JPEG, you should be able to see it. So it's Pot Smokers Monthly, a monthly guide to the best pot on the plant. This month's featured pot grower, smoker, and seller is Jimmy Jungle. So we got the cover page out of it. So now, when we did that, let's try to find the end file of the scheduled visits XLS. Since it's a PK zip file, scroll all the way down to the end of the file. So now that we've found the end of the file right here near 0xD96C, zip files can have trailing 0 bytes like such right here. So it's safe to add like 32 bytes after the ending PK, which is right here. So that's why we're going to add these zeros. So let's save everything from offset of D000 to offset D980. Select it, copy, new, paste, save as, and we're going to save it as schedule.zip. Now we should be able to go to the downloads folder, see the schedule.zip, open up another terminal or open up a previous terminal, and then you should be able to unzip schedule.zip. Now it's asking for a password. If I go to my notepad, remember that password we found? Good times. Let's use it. Looks like it worked. Looks like it extracted it. So let's go to this file, double click it and see if it pulls it up. And it looks like it did. So it looks like the schools he visited were Key High School, Leach High School, Burrard High School, Richer High School, and Hull High School, other than Smithville High School. So now we have that evidence against him saying, here's what schools he was going to. So far we have the schools he was going to, we have the supplier's address and name, and we have the proof of both of them. So let's move on to question 4. For each file, what processes were taken by the suspect to mask them from others? So let's break this down into 3 parts. jimmyjungle.doc, the original document file. This file was deleted from the machine. We know this because the corresponding entries in the root directory contain the character 0xA5, which is deleted in MS-DOS. Let's see how we can see this. If you view the Autopsy hex report, so if I go to jimmyjungle.com and go to hex report and Control F and type in A5 to find it, you can see that it has been deleted. If you keep clicking next, you will see the offset of A5 pop up several times. The fat entries for the file. Now let's move on. Cover page.jpg. The root directory entry for this file was partially destroyed, so it ended up being named completely differently, or named differently. JPEG C. The starting cluster, the cluster that holds the beginning of the data section of the file, was overwritten with junk. This is why the file appears to contain garbage. The fat entries for this file were also destroyed, so even if we reconstruct the root directory entry, we would still be unable to view the contents of the file. Scheduled visits.xls. Like other files, the fat entries were corrupted. The starting cluster in the root directory entry was fine, and the initial cluster's number and the fat were fine. The fat was corrupted, so the end of the file could not be retrieved, rendering the whole file unusable. The file was compressed and encrypted. Even though the file is a zip file, it was given the extension exe. So, question 5. What processes did you, the investigator, use to successfully examine the entire contents of each file? Well, we used Autopsy. We used Bless hex editor, and we used open source files like LibreOffice. Question 6. What Microsoft program was used to create the cover page file? What is your proof? Proof is the key to getting this question right, not just making a guess. Well, the cover page contains 4-byte repeating sequence of 0x2a, or 0x28a 28a00, which is JFIF. It's the JFIF file header, and JFIF images are created by using Microsoft Paint. So now that that's done, let's start up a second case. So I'm actually going to close Bless, close out of this tab. I'm going to close out of downloads, close out of everything that we had. So we have the other image, and now I'm going to read additional background of the police report. As a result of the information collected from the previous floppy disk, Jimmy Jungle was identified as the probable supplier of marijuana to Joe Jacobs. Jungle's address was also identified within the findings. Jacobs was again detained and offered the option to plead guilty to a single lesser charge in exchange for reliable information about a supplier of marijuana. Without knowing what police had already found on his disk, Jacobs agreed to plead guilty to lesser charge in return and provided police with the name and address of his marijuana supplier. The information Jacobs provided and the findings from SOTM24 matched exactly. Jacobs also noted that he missed a scheduled face-to-face meeting with Jungle because his arrest occurred on the same day. Since his arrest, Jacobs had no contact with Jungle, and Jungle may have become suspicious as a result of their missed meeting. Jacobs also noted that Jungle is fairly computer savvy, and any alterations made on his disk were a result of Jungle walking him through step by step. Once again, the police need your help. Armed with the necessary search warrants, police raided suspect Jimmy Jungle's residence. Upon entering the residence, police found no indication that anyone currently occupied the house. There was no furniture, clothing, beds, etc. However, there was a single floppy diskette lying on the floor in the only upstairs bedroom. DFRWS.org was written on the outside of the disk. The police imaged the floppy disk and provided you with a copy. They want you to get all the information just like the first floppy disk. So the questions of this case is, who's the probable supplier of drugs to Jimmy Jungle? What is the mailing address of Jimmy Jungle's probable drug supplier? What is the exact location in which Jimmy Jungle received the drugs? Where is Jimmy Jungle currently hiding? And explain the process that was performed so that there were no entries in the root directory and file allocation table, yet the contents of each file remained in the data area. So question 1, who is the probable supplier of drugs to Jimmy Jungle? So in a terminal, we're going to do cd into opt evidence, and we're going to run a strings on scan26. Looks like John Smith is the name of the supplier. We also see PW equals help. This could be useful later, so keep this in mind. So the password's help, and John Smith's address is 1212 Main Street, Jones, Florida, 00001. So I'm going to copy this and put this into a notepad. Question 2. What is the mailing address of Jimmy Jungle's probable drug supplier? In the lab above, using the strings command, we found that John Smith lives at 1212 Main Street, Jones, Florida. So there's question 2 out of the way. Question 3. What is the exact location in which Jimmy Jungle receives the drugs? We run strings again against the scan26 image again, but this time we sift through all the junk and find the existence of the JFIF. If you go back a JFIF is an image. So let's try to extract that image. So following procedures we use to start and set up image 1 in Autopsy. Do the same for scan 26 with the following changes. When asked for a case name, use case 2, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this out, close this host out, close this case, new case, going to be case 2, new case, add host, host 2, add host, add image file, opt evidence, scan 26, we're going to copy, volume image, calculate the hash, verify hash after importing, add, got your hash, okay. So now we're going to analyze this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a keyword search for JFIF. So we got one hit. Let's link to the results. And then we're going to do a hex view of it. So it would appear if we found the beginning of the image. Now let's find the EOI, the end of image marker. So let's install command line hex editor. So open a command shell and do a sudo apt-get install hex edit. Put the password of your root in. So once that's all entered in, and once this is installed, you're going to be in your opt evidence folder still, hopefully. So we're going to start hex edit. We're going to do scan 26 for the file name, and we're just going to go down. So it should take a while to get down, but if you notice, you can do this pretty quick if you just hold the down arrow. But if you keep going down, you're gonna actually notice something at the offset of C158. It's, like I said, really far down, so it'll take a bit. So right here is this FFD9. So at the offset of 4200, the FFD8 shows where it starts, and the offset of C158 shows the FFD9, or the end. We have to do a little math to calculate how big it is before we use DD to extract the image. So C158 plus 2, which is the 2 byte end of image marker, equals C15A, which equals 49498. So I'll write this down in the notepad so you guys can follow along. So 0x_C158 plus 2, which is the end of image, equals C15A, which equals 49498, which is start of sector is 33, which equals 33 times 512, which equals 16896. Length of file equals 49498 minus 16896 equals 32602 bytes. So the sector is occupied. It says 32602 by 512 equals 63.675, so 64. Okay, so the math is kind of crazy. So exit out of Hexedit by doing Control-C, and in your terminal, do this command. So it's dd if equals scan26, skip equals 33, count equals 64, bs equals 512, of equals /home, username, so I did this, so now you can, whoops, I messed that up. That was supposed to be a JPEG. So now you go to your downloads and you have an image. So Danny's Pier 12 boat lunch on Shoreline Drive. So that is the location that Jimmy Jungle gets his drugs from. So where's Jimmy Jungle currently hiding? So if you open up Scan26 again in Hexedit, you can use page up, by the way, to do this. So to get down a little quicker, we can find some more goodies in here. So where we kind of left off was around here. So this BMV right here proves that we have found another image. I mean, it is a bitmap image. It starts at the offset of C200 right here. The following 4 bytes specify the size. You need to read these bytes from right to left. So 0011CC76, so right here, or 1166454 bytes in decimal. So now we need to do a little more math to calculate the last offset. So I'm going to pop this open again. So 0xC200 plus 0x0011CC 76 minus 1x equals 0x128E75. Now it's time to extract the image using DD again. So DD if equals scan26, skip equals 97, count equals 2279, bs equals 512, of equals home, username, downloads, image.bmp, bitmap. So that'll copy it out there, go to your downloads, and you open up the bitmap. Now you have his hideout. So on 22 Jones Street, or Jones Avenue, my bad. So now this comes to our last and final question. Explain the process that was performed so that there were no entries in the root directory and file allocation table, yet the contents of each file remained in the data area. So the floppy was formatted. When formatting a floppy or a hard disk, the data remains untouched. Only the file allocation table and the root directory are zeroed out, rendering it difficult but not impossible to recover the data. So if you wipe a file, say you delete a file, the data of that file will stay in that sector until it is overwritten. If it's not overwritten, it'll stay there and you can pull it out. So that's the end of the demo. I hope you guys learned a lot, and if there's any questions, just ask me.